Well, hello again there, YouTube world. I guess this makes it what, installment number 4, number 5. We're outside today. It's a beautiful day, a little too windy. A pile back here I was going to burn, but, not quite. Well, if my family or my extended family finally got off their butt, responded to the letter I sent them regarding the camper, possessions in the garage that they abandoned. Things got a little questionable, a little upset on their part. And like I said, I can be a little empathetic on some of it. I don't have any sympathy for it. It's hard to sit there and cut ties with people that's been part of your family your whole lives. Although I can argue that before I went, they cut ties with me after I went to prison. I'm the monster, so it's easier to hate on me. My cousin Robert, he's got his new family to deal with, and they don't want nothing to do with me, and that's fine. I get it. Hey, that's okay. Meanwhile, I have to look after my mom and have to take care of my wife and look after my sister, and part of that dealing with my reintegration to society is making up for a lot of my failures and problems in the past, and some of that's got to do with making good on the mistakes that's happened and the things that have occurred to my parents' property and to my mom, looking after that. One of the sore tooth, if you will, has been a camper that's been parked in the main driveway for better part of the last 8 years. Now, they brought that thing in here under the idea that, well, when they lost the house they lived in, they needed a place to stay. My mom took them in, and it was okay for them to have it here at that point. Well, over the last couple of years, they've moved on. Robert found himself a person and has got a love of his life, and they have a nice place outside of town, and it's an acreage. They got plenty of space, but for some reason, he just wanted to leave it sit, leave it sit, leave it sit. One of the problems my mother had was that they would never take her serious. And then last year when my sister tried to push the issue, they called the cops on her, made a bunch of threats and stuff. Well, I'm not my sister. I did my homework, checked with the police first, sent them a letter, did everything I had to do, even though I knew it was going to hurt the relationship I had with my cousin. It's a pity. I feel bad about it. I'm not proud of it, folks. I'm not proud of what I had to do to get to right a wrong. But the tooth had to go. It was rotting. It was obsessed. It was causing problems. One of the big problems was it was literally parked in front of the house, blocking the view of most of the property from the kitchen. Mom couldn't sit at the kitchen table and look out her window or her door while this big, huge monstrosity sitting here. And I do mean a huge monstrosity because it was a 25-year-old camper. It had a lot of modifications to it. It had trees growing up around it. Now, I may or may not have taken some pictures of those, and those are still pictures, but I have no idea how to post them on this YouTube thing. I'd put them up on another website, but I don't think anybody want to go to that. Obviously, nobody wants to go to the GoFundMe website, right? Yeah, I get that part. That's okay. Like I said, the wife and I, we've been out butchering up the property, cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. That's just the nature of the beast. I had to have the police out here because they didn't feel comfortable enough to get it, thought there was going to be some problem. I don't know what kind of problem there would have been. I just wanted it gone. I wasn't going to argue with them. I wasn't fighting them. We're both grown men. We're past that juvenile. At least I'm past the juvenile stage. It made him feel better, safer. Hey, that's good. Main thing is it's gone. Sometimes, you just have to have those family disputes. You got to sail through it. You got to pull the rotten tooth, let it heal. Well, maybe I'm not necessarily letting it heal as it ought to because I'm not keeping quiet about it. Hence the YouTube video between you, me, and Dupree there, and a handful of folks have seen the video that I've been posting. Let's take a look here for a moment. So you can now see what my mother sees from the kitchen, from the front, from the kitchen porch, from the kitchen table. She can see all the way out to the garage, past the garage. Now, the problem was, and I don't know, like I said, if I'd have put a If I'd have parked this thing out here and made a picture of it, but this whole area right here, 16-foot long travel trailer, 8, 9 feet high, 10 feet high, air conditioned hanging out the side of it, all kinds of stuff piled up around it, under it, trees growing up around it. Turned into a major, major eyesore for my mom. She just wanted it gone. Yeah, that's one of the mouse things. I haven't quite got this touchpad thing working the way I like it to. But look, see now, all nice and clean. Look at the debris. You can actually see the barn back there now. So much property has been restored. I mean, you can see the huge ruts there that tires left of that thing had been sinking in the ground. Old chair that they abandoned. Still some piles of garbage there some old tires by the storm shelter. It's still got a lot of work to do. What you probably can't see is the big tree roots that are poking up out of this thing. We'll get those. My mom was happy as a clam about all this. She was not happy that, there had to be some disputes between her. Her older sister was dragged into it. That's her son. Yeah, I probably could have ran it by her and told her I was going to do all this. But truth is, people, I've been telling these people, my family, told my sister, my wife, my mom, my aunt, when they came to visit me in the joint, I was cleaning up this place. I was straightening this thing out. I was going to fix a bunch of the wrongs, right some of the wrongs that have been done here. Well, I can't fix my past mistakes, but I can fix some of this. And like I said, I'm running with a bunch of bucket load of guilt. Feel I need to do the right thing, and that's what we're trying to do here. What do you do? It's rough. Like I said, I wasn't proud to have to go to the extreme lengths I did. I wasn't going to sue. I wasn't paying somebody to haul it off and then bill him for it. And according to the law, we're well within our rights to do that. I didn't want some big, huge drama fest. And fortunately, the local town chief came by and made sure that didn't happen. I don't think it had gone anywhere. Honestly, I don't. I know that my cousin needed a lot of moral support, so he brought a small army of people with him. It was just me and my wife. My mom stayed in the house. I did what I had to do. Robert, I don't know if you ever see these videos. Something tells me you probably might. Somebody probably will see them. Truth of the matter is, this is shameful behavior on any man's part. You just don't do this to family and relatives. Now, you can argue that what I did, you don't do either. And to a limited degree, I'll agree with that. But I have to look after my mom, and that she's first. My wife first, my mom second, and that's what God says. It's in the Bible, right? Put God, then your spouse, and then your parents, and then so forth. A God-fearing man. Not nearly as God-fearing as some people would like me to be. Sorry there, Shannon. Keep trying. Trying to make my life a better place than where it was before. My wife gets a kick out of me doing this stuff because I'm out there talking to myself. He's out there talking to the computer again. Well, I've tried to explain I'm talking to you, John and Jane Q Public, and anybody and everybody, and all 15 or so viewers so far. I imagine 5 years from now, maybe I'll have 100 viewers on this thing. Hey, it's all good. It's all great. So get the hang of this stuff. Finally got, like I said, I got me a job. It's part-time. It's some opportunities. There's some good people. Still sleeping in the car. I'm homeless again, like I said. My cousin's got himself a nice house. He lives on a small acreage. He had, like I said, plenty of room, plenty of family, extended family, new family support. So why, Robert, why did you just abandon the stuff here? Now, my aunt will say, and she did, that I did this because I couldn't have the camper. Well, that's in truth part of the truth. I'm an honest person. You know, that's a curse sometimes, being truthful and honest, painfully honest sometimes. I have to be. I have to be painfully honest to myself, or I'll backslide it to become the person I was before I went to prison, and I can't allow that to happen. I have to be a different man. So the deal was, and tried hard all last year while I was trying to find a place so I wouldn't have to sleep in a car. I could get a truck to pull the camper. I could have stayed in it. I offered him money. He wanted a retarded amount of money. The thing was in questionable condition. I'm not sure how roadworthy it was for long-term road use. I know that he hadn't kept the plates or the title or none of that stuff on this thing up. The plate on the window was 7 years old, 8 years old. I'm not even sure he had a legal title to it. I wanted to know, well, you never even tried to get a hold of me and talk to me. Well, sometimes, you're in a situation where I couldn't go to you. But I told everybody Robert, I told everybody that you needed to come talk to me. Your mother more than often told you, I know your mom. Please don't pretend like you may have ignored what she said, but I know your mom. She's a lot like my mom because they're sisters. And trust me, my family has no problem speaking what we think and saying what we want other people to hear. And sometimes we're bad about twisting those things around so it sounds like we want you to hear. That's not necessarily a good thing. I want to say I'm working to make sure I don't do that. Not trying to twist it around. It's not a bad place. It's not a bad property. Feel bad about, making the decisions that had to be made. And sometimes we have to make some harsh choices, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, property looks better. It's a start. My mom will be able to park in her driveway, be able to walk all the way up to the house without driving around this monstrosity, be able to look out her porch window, or sit on her porch, look out her kitchen window, see the majority of the property. When the lights come on at night, the whole thing will be lit up in front of the porch instead of being some big black hole because of this big, huge thing sitting here. One more bad tooth pulled. Quite a few more to go, folks. Where will we end up? Well, I hope in a better place at the end of the day. Pay some prices. This is another one of those prices. My mom, my aunt, they'll come around. My aunt will come back to mom and talk to mom eventually. That's also true about her. Robert wrote me off 14 years ago when I went to prison. Now, I'm sure he said that to everybody and anybody on his end of things. What does he think? I don't know. I can't. It's one of those things that they teach you in treatment if you listen. We can't really know what another person's thinking. We can assume we do. We can kind of think we do. We can know somebody well enough that we know how they would react in a given situation, but we can't really understand or know what's going on in a person's mind. And I get that. Sorry, Robert. Sorry it had to come to that. Fortunately, it's not over. That's the sad part. Between you and me and the camper and Dupree, wherever the hell Dupree is, that part's over. But your mom still has a whole lot of stuff here, and I'm sure she wants parts of it. And I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing to get this stuff cleaned up and out of here, and I'm going to pack up what I can of it. I'm not refilling the garage. I still got a couple corners to clean up, and when I get done, we'll do another one out there in the garage. Because, at some point, I'd like to get past all this, and move on to some other subjects that are more interesting to me, a hell of a lot more interesting to a lot of other folks who probably would never watch this stuff in the first place, but they will watch that other stuff. I know that for a fact. Don't worry about that. Well, anyway, folks, have a good afternoon, and remember, family is family. Treat them right, but don't let them not treat you the way you would treat them or have yourself treated. I guess that sometimes I mix that stuff up, but that's, you know, the gist of what I'm saying. Don't let them take advantage of you, and don't take advantage of them. Remember, family's family, but they're not everything. I mean, they can be, but sometimes you got to make some hard decisions. You know, this is one of those days. What do you do? I don't know what you'd have done. I can't guess what some of you guys would have done if you put yourself in this spot. You know, if you've seen some of the previous videos, you've seen the condition of some of this. I really should have, did a little thinking ahead of time, and I could have done one with this big old behemoth when it was still sitting here. You know, it's okay. But you guys have a good afternoon, and we'll talk to you at some other point. I'll get this thing.